Recently, power sector stocks like HPL Electric, NTPC, and in particular the finance stocks REC and PFC have all been surging on reports of state governments handing out large smart meter installation contracts. That's part of the reason this scheme is part of the centre's RDSS scheme, or the revamped distribution sector scheme, whereby the centre gives grants to states who install smart meters. The smart meters are supposed to enable remote real-time reading of power consumption, which should enable better collection. The other step the government has taken is insisting on LPS, or a late payment surcharge for discoms, which is why the power finance stocks may be rising. The delayed power purchase is being punished by surcharges. The FPPAS scheme, or the Fuel and Power Purchase Surcharge scheme, is also intended to regularly charge higher in keeping with changes in costs. The hope is that all this has led to some improvement in the power sector, or will lead to at least less losses for discoms and hence better finances for the entire sector, generators and distributors. Are things really improving? That's what we are discussing today with three experts. Mr. Vivek Kumar Devangan, the Chairman and Managing Director of REC. The company has just reported excellent QR numbers. Harshvardhan Dole, the power expert at IIFL. He's the VP Institutional Equities, and Sabyasachi Majumdar, the Senior VP ICRA Ratings. So we have a debt expert, an equity expert, and of course a power financer. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sparing time. Mr. Devangan, let me come straight to you. Are you getting a sense that discom finances, you are financing them, are you getting a sense that things have improved at all?
With the launch of revamped distribution sector scheme in 2021, things have started changing for better now. In fact, with the launch of RDSS, the discoms have taken very proactive action for reform measures. The government department dues, legacy subsidy dues, they have prepared the trajectory and they have started liquidating that. And in fact, as part of pre-qualification criteria, all the state governments have started paying the discoms subsidy in advance. Quarterly subsidies is being paid in advance. So that the AT&C losses of discoms have improved by 5%. Earlier it was 22%. In 1 year, it has come down to 17%. I hope that the financial turnaround of discom is on its way now.
Okay. Actually, AT&C losses you cannot be denied. Sabyasachi, therefore to you, are you getting a sense, I mean, this is a large problem in terms of accumulated discom debt, but are we even incrementally making any improvements because of whatever LPS, late payment surcharge, introducing some discipline?
So basically, as you see, there has been a very significant reduction in AT&C losses, almost like 5% reduction in 1 year. Now, a part of that, of course, can be attributed to the fact that there was a very significant inflow of subsidies during 2022. Normally, the subsidy collection efficiency is less than 100%, but in 22 it was 109%. So possibly many of the state governments had not only paid all the subsidy in time, but also, liquidated perhaps some of their earlier, subsidy arrears, as well as paid something in extra. So that is definitely a very positive development for the overall sector as a whole, and has brought down the improved liquidity position. But again, whether it remains to be sustained, remains to be seen. Further, on T&D losses, for the overall T&D losses still remain somewhere around 17-18%, and we'll have to bring it down further so that the government's own target of bringing the overall AT&C losses to 12 to 15% on a sustained basis is achieved.
Okay.
So there is the current. We have seen a lot of progress, but still there's a fair way to go.
Okay. Just a word on this subsidies, which you are saying the state governments cleared on time in FY22. Isn't there a commitment on the part of the state governments? Was it not one of the clauses included if they had to avail of higher deficit, during the COVID years, the state governments were allowed to run up a deficit, not 3 but 3.5% also. That was tied to power sector reforms. So you think that the subsidy payments will henceforth come on time because of these commitments?
Yes, I would think so, because even before this, it was not as if the gap in terms of the subsidy was very high. By and large, most state governments were meeting the subsidy in a reasonably timely manner. So there's reason to be optimistic about at least full collection efficiency being maintained on the subsidy side.
Okay, there are a lot of these acronyms thrown at us, RDSS. Okay, smart meter, it lets you know remotely what is the reading. But does that mean that money will be paid, collected?
Yeah. The component of smart meter is clubbed with prepaid smart meter. We have made it compulsory that all the discoms have to install prepaid smart meters. It means that the consumer has to pay in advance to get the electricity supply. So it is collection efficiency, billing efficiency are inherent for implementation of prepaid smart metering. In the country, we have to install about 25 crore consumers are there. We have to install prepaid smart meters on Totex mode. We are also covering all the feeders and distribution transformers meter also we are assisting. So that will help in improving the collection and billing efficiency for discoms.
Okay.
And certainly it will reduce the AT&C losses also.
I get that, sir. But from what we spoke to the power companies, most of them are not yet prepaid. But are there enough prepaid meters installed, Mr. Devangan?
The rollout of prepaid smart metering has just commenced actually. As of today, about 17.5 lakh prepaid smart meters have already been installed. The award for about 2.5 crore prepaid smart meter has already been placed by discoms, and in the next few months the order for about 20 crore prepaid smart meters are going to be placed by the discoms.
Okay, 20 crore households will cover about 100 crore people. That will be a very good number, but you're at the moment talking about lakhs. So to come back to you, Harsh, give us some idea, first of all, whether this will actually reduce losses, because at the moment, as Mr. Devangan just said, it is, prepaid is still small. It's more smart meters. What is your sense in terms of both amount of coverage, numbers, timetable, and their ability to stop the bleeding of discoms?
So firstly, it's a notable initiative and step in right direction. It allows elimination of human intervention in the billing process. CEA estimates that the billing efficiency across the discoms is only 84 to 85%, for which almost a lakh crore plus revenue loss incurs to the state discoms. And it's actually far more than their annual losses. And to that extent, there is a need to automate the whole process of billing, etc. And to that extent, if the government is playing sort of carrot and stick approach for the state discoms to go ahead and implement smart metering, it's a great step. But having said that, it is not the only solution to revive the AT&C losses. I think once you automate the billing, second step is basically to improve the collection efficiency, which is a gigantic task considering what the Indian state level geopolitical situation is. A lot of states still continue to give freebies.
Exactly.
And recently, I was reading in one of the regional dailies that one of the southern states has actually officially said that either they will be able to do development work or they will be able to give free power. And at a time when you are approaching elections, I'm not sure how well the focus will actually be on the development side.
Okay.
To that extent, the next task is to go ahead and implement this prepaid metering, which will be a significant milestone to cut down AT&C losses.
Okay. Sabyasachi, I will have to come to you also on this. You explained that subsidy was brought down effectively, and you also explained with numbers that AT&C losses, commercial losses have clearly come down. But do you see a very good spread of smart metering? What is the scope for prepaid meters? Has it even scratched the surface? And is that one way I mean, at least in the next 3-4 years, we won't be having this discussion.
Okay. So as you see, the smart metering program has just started off and we have barely reached a little more than 1% coverage. So definitely once, we get to a very high level, obviously a lot of these problems are going to be sorted out. But there are a couple of other things also. Now, what happened over the last 10 years, there has been a very significant increase in rural electrification and getting electricity to the household. I mean, earlier, many villages were electrified, but it was not as if all households were being electrified. Now, what has happened over the last 10 years is because of various schemes, more or less we have been able to provide 100% household coverage. Now, what happened while we were able to increase the household coverage to near full, the billing and collection mechanism of many of the DISCOMs, particularly those in the northern parts of the country where the electrification of households was much less, that did not keep pace. So what was happening was that billing and collection was being done once in several months. So let's suppose there's a bottom-up pyramid customer in a village in northern India who consumes, let's say, 200-250 rupees worth of power. If you ask him to pay 250 rupees per month, it's very easy for him to do so. But if you are going to raise a bill on him in 6 months and ask him to pay 1500 rupees, it will be difficult for him to do so. So that is also something which was resulting in continued AT&C losses remaining high in several states, in spite of the fact that a lot of work had happened at the 11 kV feeders as well as the distribution transfer of feeders. So a lot of steps are being taken there. For instance, many states have already started, handheld meter reading that every month they have a roster that this particular day of the month, this particular village is going to be covered. So to a great extent, already steps are being taken, quite apart from, smart meters or prepaid meters, for ensuring that billing is being done on a more regular basis so that the collection improves. So that process is anyway on. And once, we are able to put in smart meters and prepaid meters, this problem, to a great extent, the collection losses from the retail segment will come down. The other major thing we must remember is part of the, collection loss is also from the fact that many, government utilities, basically, things like irrigation departments, various, municipalities and panchayats. In many states, they are unable or unwilling to pay to the DISCOMs on a regular basis. Part of these various reform measures, that is also proposed to be significantly tightened. So once, this is done in a very serious basis from both, for the retail customer, through smart meters as well as regular billing, as well as from these institutions, this quasi-government institutions, that should significantly bring down the AT&C losses to the desired level of 12%.
Okay.
But along with that, we'll also have to look at some amount of tariff hike, because even if you bring down the AT&C losses by further 4-5%, still there'll be a certain amount of gap, and for which the regulators would have to ensure that whatever regulatory assets have been built, they are collected through tariffs in a regular manner.
Okay. Sabyasachi, I take your point that collection would be eased in far-flung areas, like you point out in the north, and for very small customers, where perhaps there is a willingness to pay, but ability is a problem, and even from the point of view of the DISCOM, collection ability is a problem. But, the state with the biggest, what you very euphemistically call regulatory assets, or actually, unpaid bills, is 89,000 crores for Tamil Nadu, relatively one of the best developed states and most well electrified states. Likewise, I can go on, even states like Maharashtra, 44,000 crores in terms of DISCOM dues. So, while you can perhaps ensure some kind of regularity of collection from the small man who has just been electrified, how do you correct these monstrous losses? Especially that question to the man who is financing them, REC. But in just a minute, sir, after this very short break. Welcome back. We have been discussing whether the recent power sector reforms like smart metering, delayed payment surcharges can bring back some kind of financial stability to the power sector, both generators and distributors. I've been speaking with the Chairman Manager of REC, Mr. Vivek Kumar Devangan, Harshvardhan Dole of IIFL, and Sabyasachi Majumdar of ICRA Ratings. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Mr. Devangan, we do see some ray of light with the smart metering and the late payment surcharge, which is forcing discoms to pay up. But what they do is they take the loan from you and pay the generators. We will just have tables running about how REC and PFC have sanctioned more loans to the discoms. Do you see any improvement in terms of their ability to pay and even their willingness to repay?
Yeah, there has been substantial improvement with the introduction of late payment surcharge, the dues of the GENCOs and TRANSCOs, the legacy dues. They have prepared a trajectory, and in maximum 48 installments. Okay. For a period of 4 years, they have to pay the legacy dues. And since with the introduction of LPS, they save around 12% interest that they were paying. So about this, saving about 16,500 crore per annum on account of non-payment of LPS. Okay. One thing, one significant thing which has happened is that now discoms have started paying the current dues of the GENCOs and TRANSCOs. Yes. That is what has really improved the situation. And legacy due, there is a trajectory, and over a period of 4 years, they'll be gradually reducing their dues.
That's a very major reform. Yes. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Department dues were more than 1,30,000 crore. That has come down substantially to about 64,000 crore only. And with the introduction of prepaid smart meter, we are asking them to put in the government department first. Government departments will not be able to avail electricity unless they pay the electricity bill in advance through prepaid smart meter. Okay. I hope that both this LPS and prepaid smart metering are going to play. There'll be a real game changer in improving the financial and operational efficiency of the distribution companies.
Okay. Yeah, and that will not even mean an election problem. If the government departments are being asked, there is no election issue over there. But Mr. Devangan, just one more doubt. Have the NPAs of DISCOM started reducing? NPAs as in, days past due.
Yeah, that has also started reducing.
Okay. So there is a tangible improvement on the ground.
Substantial improvement, yeah.
Substantial, okay. Harsh, what's your sense? And I'm not asking you in terms of whether you will buy NTPC stock or Tata Power stock or HPL Electric stock, but more generally, are you seeing the financial health improving of the generators as well, since they are at the mercy of the distributors?
See, I think one has to give it to the government that they have realized that problem lies at both ends, both while supplying power as well as collecting the dues. And while measures such as prepaid meters, smart meters will improve the cash flow situations, I think what is also necessary is timely tariff revision. If you were to run a check across all the states over the last say 5 or 8 years, the percentage increase in power tariffs across all India basis has been just about 2 to 3%. And that's quite concerning because the actual generation costs have grown much in excess of 2 to 3%. And if you actually were to turn around the DISCOM, in addition to improving the AT&C losses, etc., the cost of actual power has to reflect in the end power tariffs. In my opinion, if the first step is right, I'm hoping that the state and the central government will work together and pass on the actual cost to end consumers, which is the only sustainable solution. Hoping that the state and the central government will work together and pass on the actual cost to end consumers, which is the only sustainable solution to turn around the sector. Okay.
Even as you speak,
the other thing which
go ahead. Sorry.
The other thing which I've kind of analyzed or noted is thanks to surge in the power demand across the consumer base, including industrial, commercial, and residential sectors. The surplus so-called generation capacity that India had will no longer exist a couple of years later. And this realization has trickled down within the policymakers, which is kind of making proactive moves such as fast tracking of renewable energy capacity, or CEA kind of in their recent report advocating additional 13,000 megawatt of coal-based capacity. So these measures certainly will go a long way in terms of, planning the demand-supply equation, as well as, improving the financial state of, the DISCOMs, which is what is the need of the hour.
Okay, so more power supply and perhaps more regular billing and higher tariffs. Actually, when you were speaking, we were running those tariffs sought and tariffs approved by the state electricity regulatory commissions. Okay, we are talking about SERCs. It's a table I picked up from Sabyasachi's report. Sabyasachi, the tariffs are not even hiked this year as much as last year, you point out, despite the government saying that, they have to blend imported coal, which would be expensive. And if you look at the difference between tariffs sought and tariffs actually approved, there is still a wide gap. A 6 trillion accumulated dues is not going to go away even in 4 years. But are you seeing incremental reduction of these accumulated losses and a reduction in fresh losses?
So basically, around 2020-21, the first year of pandemic, obviously the total cash losses. See, I'm not looking at the book loss, but I'm looking at the loss. Plus, we are also adding back the regulatory assets, which would have been booked as income, but not collected. That would have peaked out at somewhere around 90,000 crores or thereabouts. Now, while we don't have the current estimates, given the, our estimate about, subsidy receipt, about AT&C losses and power cost increases, I would think that around currently the total losses will be somewhere around 50,000 crore, which is a substantial improvement. But 50,000 crore itself will be a fairly large. So out of the 50,000 crore, the book loss would be 30,000 crore, and another maybe 20 or 1,000 crore would be regulatory assets. So to bring down the cash loss to zero, we have to further reduce by 50,000 crore rupees on the base level, plus whatever increases are taking place because of higher power purchase cost. I mean, fine, we are getting a little bit of renewable energy also at lower cost, but at the same time, because of the blending of coal with imported coal, there is an increase in thermal power tariff. So whatever increase is taking place in the power purchase cost of the utilities, that also has to be passed. So if you have to look, for example, for the current 50,000 crores, loss gap, obviously this loss reduction of 4 to 5% will take care of about maybe 25-30,000 crores. But if you have to take care of the balance, even at the baseline, another amount of 2 to 3% additional tariff hikes will be required. In addition, we'll have to provide tariff hikes to take care of further increases in the power purchase costs. So that is broadly the ask that is required if we are to make the power sector truly self-sustainable on a cash basis.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let me tell you a brief history. I did a similar discussion in 2003 when Suresh Prabhu introduced the Electricity Act. We did a similar discussion in 2014 when the Uday scheme was announced by Piyush Goyal, and we are doing it again in 2023 in the hope that we will not have to do another discussion. I won't be around, but I hope the numbers will be so small that we will not have to do another discussion on whether DISCOMs are returning to financial health. Thank you very much for joining me in this special discussion on Indonomics. There are more news and updates following.